Alright, so I'm going to plant something that I really should have had in the ground probably, oh, I don't know, a month ago or so. And that is some peas. And these are just going to be normal, peas that you'd shell. If I want to sell any, I'm not sure that people really probably want stuff that they got to pod. It's just extra work. But I like these, so I'm going to plant some. Maybe this fall I'll do some other varieties as well. But either way, these should have been in the ground a while back, so I'm going to go ahead and put some in now. And hopefully these will turn out all right. Yeah, my tomato plant's got a little bit spindly on me. They aren't the best, but I think they'll be just fine. I'll bury them down in the ground a little bit further. I think it should be all right. Alright, so I got the drip tape turned on. The greens really don't need a whole lot of water. I had that on for a little bit last night, but it looks like they may be starting to dry out just a little bit. So I'll leave everything on for the time being, especially the one here for the peas. Let that start getting soaked in, and then I'll probably end up turning off the three for the greens. That's the nice thing about having the valves on here, is you can just shut those off. That way it's only got water coming over to here for the time being. And then I can just have this one kind of soaking down with these new seeds that I'm putting in over here. Alright, so the next thing that I want to work on here in the high tunnel is getting the herbs moved around. So all these overwintered from last year just fine. Obviously they are really coming in strong this year. There's some sage, oregano, and thyme. And I just kind of planted them off in this corner. Last year I wasn't using drip tape, so it really didn't matter how things were planted. But since I'm switching everything over to drip tape this year, I want to get these into a single row so I can water them off from that, and then have like full-length rows for things, and I'm not having to deal with this weird little block of herbs over in this corner. So we're just going to put these in this first row here. That way they're kind of out of the way, if they continue to come back year after year, you know, they can just stay over in this area. They aren't going to be, you know, sticking out in a weird row in the middle. In addition to that, since they're going to be at this end, this is where the drip tape starts over here. This is where our header line is. So I'm thinking what I may be able to do is run drip tape down through here, and then at the end of where the herbs are at, I would think they probably make an inline valve, quarter turn valve for the drip tape. So I could put that at the end. So that way, if in this full 96-foot row here, if this is the only stuff that's in it, I can just turn that valve so it's only putting water to the area where the herbs are at. But then during the main growing season, if I've got stuff down towards the other end, I can open that valve up and it'll just water the whole thing. I'll have to look into that. I would assume they would make something like that, but I'll see if I can find one of those. But for now, we need to get this stuff moved into this row. I've already tilled this up so it'll be nice and easy to kind of dig into to get stuff moved around. But first of all, let's get this sage out of the way and get this moved over. And this oregano is just spreading like crazy. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think I'm going to dig up some of these little extra little plants that are spreading out over here. I'll dig them up. I'll probably transplant them into some small pots and see if I can sell some of those maybe at market or something. So that's fine by me, but it's doing very, very well. Stick these in a bucket of water for the time being. Keep the roots wet. That's more little oregano plants that are trying to hitch a ride over with it. So I just had something new come in yesterday, which is a whole box of, I don't even know how many are in there, 500 or 1,000 or something ground staples. So that way I can use these to kind of hold the drip tape in place. Since this comes off of a roll, it doesn't always want to lay the best right where you want it to be laying at. So throw a few of these in there and that'll hold it right in place, right where I want it to be at the base of the plants. Alright, we'll let that run for a little while, get those really well soaked in since we just transplanted them, and they should hopefully be good to go. Alright, that'll hold those in place a lot better. Especially with having such small little plants here for a lot of the greens. Having this stapled in place so that it's not wiggling around when the water goes through it and it drains out after you shut it off. That way it's not, you know, pushing over top of the starts and messing them up. It'll hold it nice and in place right next to the plants. Won't move around. Should be a lot better. Alright, so while that stuff gets soaked in, I'm going to go ahead and pot up these little oregano shoots that I pulled out. These are actually a couple that I put in last night when I was kind of poking around with getting the stuff ready to go. And I'm just reusing some containers that I think we had squash and cucumbers and stuff like that in these. Didn't feel like pulling out a brand new flat for these little things, but got some pre-soaked starting soil over here. And I'm just gonna grab some of these guys and stick them in here. And down in there a little bit. All the roots tucked down in. This one's a really long one. Put some more on top of there. Pack that down in a little bit. And, oh, actually that was a couple of them. Yeah, there's not much root left on that one. We'll chuck that. Just like that. Wash, rinse, and repeat. That's a root system on that one right there. I don't know if all that's connected to that little plant, but man, if it is, this one ought to do really, really well. Alright, well, we'll see what happens, and maybe we'll end up with, what is this, 18 new oregano plants.